Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Brass. I am the Director of Undergraduate Admissions here at Daemen College and just want to welcome you to our panel, Navigating the College Search from Applying to Paying for College. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce everyone that's going to be on the panel here today. So I will kick it off by turning this over to Tiffany Hamilton.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here. My name is Tiffany Hamilton. I am the college's Chief Diversity Officer, and I also serve as the Director of the Arthur O. Eve Higher Education Opportunity Program. And I'm excited to be here tonight.
Erin?
Hi, my name is Erin Cogan. I am a college and career readiness counselor at Cleveland Hill High School here in Cheektowaga, New York. And I am also a graduate of Daemen 2005 with their psychology program.
Jeff?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Pagano. I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Daemen College. Welcome.
And last but not least, Jeremy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy Tiers, and I'm the Senior Director of Admissions Services for Tutor Collegiate Strategies, which is a company that partners with colleges and universities all around the country to help them communicate more effectively with prospective students and parents. And I think I'm the only person not in New York tonight. I am in Indianapolis, Indiana.
I know, Jeremy, so far away from us. So kind of want to talk about a little bit about this panel, what we hope to accomplish. So this is kind of a partner between two conversations I had. One was actually with Jeremy, and the other one was we were at Summer Open House this past, oh gosh, a month ago. And normally at open house, we're sitting there, we're talking to prospective students and families, and the questions we get are usually very specific to Daemen, like what does financial aid at Daemen look like? When do I need to apply to Daemen? Tell me more and more about Daemen. And after we did the welcome, we started talking to parents and students, and a lot of the conversations we were having had nothing to do with Daemen whatsoever. It was, are we doing the right thing right now being here? What we know nothing of what we're supposed to be doing right now. Why, like should we be visiting campuses? When should we be applying for campus to college? And it kind of, our admissions counselors and staff kind of sat back and we debriefed after the event and was like, it was a great event, but the conversations we were having were normally conversations we were having a year ago when students were juniors or when students were first entering the college admission cycle. And it feels like with the pandemic has really kind of put this rising senior class and behind the eight ball, whether that was high school information nights that were supposed to happen in the spring that got canceled because of COVID, colleges, universities not being able to host college tours or events that you would normally go to, like open houses or being able to visit the campus. So as we kind of sat there and talked, we thought it would be really good if we just did a general kind of navigating the college search process for everyone, not just Daemen specific, but also talk about a little bit about what you should be doing from where you should be right now if you're a high school senior to if you're a high school junior, what you should be thinking about as you go into that, to even when we talk about paying for college. Like maybe you haven't been to a financial aid session, maybe you have no idea how you're going to pay for college, and kind of just start the conversation where we go there. So that panel over the course of the next 50 minutes or so is kind of what we hope to cover. That being said, the other person who really kick-started this brainchild was Jeremy, because there was a conversation Jeremy and I have had when he came on campus here at Daemen. It was about a few weeks back, and we talked a lot about what students were scared of, what their fears were when they came through the college process. So Jeremy, can you share your thoughts on what students and parents are most scared of going into a college admissions process?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. And I would give everybody some context who's listening live or watching this after the fact. We do a number of surveys throughout the entire year, not only with high school students who are juniors and seniors all across the country, but we also do surveys with students once they've completed their college search. So they finished their senior year out of high school, they've made their college decision, and now they're getting ready to be a freshman wherever they're going to go to school this fall. And for the last 8 years, we have heard the exact same fears, if you want to call it that, meaning it's very rare in these surveys for a student to say, no, I'm not scared, worried, or nervous about anything. And I think many of you listening to this know it's the exact opposite. This is a hard, scary, and confusing process, as Austin alluded to. And so if you're feeling any of what I'm about to share with you, just understand it's totally normal, but also understand there are people out there, whether it's Aaron, your high school counselor, whether it's somebody like Austin at a college or Jeff at a college in the financial aid office. I cannot encourage you enough to utilize those people because they are your advocate and they are a resource for you. And so the two biggest fears that we continue to hear when we talk with students are they're scared to make the wrong decision, and they're also scared of understanding, how am I going to financially make all of this work? Those by far and away are the two biggest things. And fear of making the wrong decision, ultimately, students tell us, it's just, I don't know what I don't know. How do I know I'm not going to choose the school that, you know what, all my friends are going to, my boyfriend's going to, my girlfriend's going to, my parents really want me to go to, and I don't know if it's 100% right for me, but I'm going to go there. And you know what, 3 weeks into school, what if I don't feel like I'm in the right spot? What if I don't feel at home? And so that's something I know a lot of students struggle with, and they share those struggles with us in a lot of the surveys that we do. And a couple other things I would hit on that we're seeing more and more nationally as we survey high school students is they're scared of moving away from home, even if moving away from home is 25 minutes, right, versus 6 hours or a plane ride. And they're also scared of being emotionally and socially ready for college. What's that going to look like when you have to get up and it's all on you? You have to do laundry. You have to figure out how to prepare your food. You have to figure out how to iron clothes if you've never done that. For some people, and for a lot of young people, this all becomes new, and it starts to hit them about senior year in high school as they start to think about their college search. And so if any of, again, you listening are feeling those things, just understand it's completely normal. But I really do encourage you to not only try to seek out people who have been through the process, but also people like your high school counselor and people at different colleges that you either go visit, or people when they send you emails or they do events like this, who can definitely fill in some of the blanks and help alleviate some of those fears.
You know, Jeremy, we when you came on campus, we talked about the survey we did, and then at open house we did a Kahoot, and we asked the same question that you asked us, and it was the same answers. And then the other one we always got was actually number 2, which was surprising, was that just the fear of like what does it take to be admitted to a college? Will I be admitted into the school that I'm applying to? And I feel like there's a general, in terms of disconnect when we talk to students, in terms of like from the college's standpoint and then the perception standpoint of when we talk to them. You know, like from a college's standpoint, like at Daemen and really everywhere I've worked, we've always said it's never a no, it's always a not yet if you don't get into the college, right? Like there's many ways to go to college. You can go in the front door as a first year student, the side door as a transfer student, or through the back door as a graduate student. It doesn't mean we don't want you or anything like that. It's just like we're trying to help you get to this place. If you want to be here, we want to get you here. I think one of the things that I found in terms of perception, especially talking with students there, was that the admissions counselor student dynamic can seem very intimidating. That, you know, the admissions counselor says, I'm going to read your application. And all of a sudden the student kind of is like, oh, you're going to be the one who reads my application. Like it almost becomes intimidating when it's really the exact opposite. It's your admissions counselor is meant to help you. If they're not meant to be intimidating, we're not playing gatekeepers here. Our job is really just to like help you through the process to make sure you have a completed application, put your best foot forward. And I think a lot of students, it was a shock for a lot of students when they came to campus to learn that fact alone, was like, what do I need to be admitted to college? And we'll just be upfront and honest to be like, hey, this is like GPAs, transcripts, like what we think about a college essay, what we think about like what you should write for your resume, how you best put your best foot forward. And I think it was very eye-opening in terms of that a lot of them have the perception that it's, you know, that we're not going to share that information, or better yet, we're going to judge them every time they talk.
Yeah, it's totally normal. And you know, the last thing I'll say on it is, if you feel that way, again, understand there are people out there who want to help you. But much like I tell admissions counselors, you know, like I did when I went to Daemen to work with Austin and his team, it's really hard for those of you that are students watching or listening to this. You've got to play a role in this too. And you've got to understand, hopefully, right, that not everybody has to be nervous and be so scared to have those conversations with admissions counselors. Doesn't mean you're not going to say something wrong. I say something wrong all the time. But once they understand, they being admissions counselors, how you're feeling about things and what you need help with, it's so much easier for them to give you guidance that will help alleviate some of those fears that Austin and I just talked about.
Thanks, Jeremy. Aaron, as the high school counselor here, how do you help students and families navigate the college search process from the high school side? How would you give, like, what advice do you give to students in terms of how they should utilize a high school counselor or utilize their college counselor if they have one at their high school?
Well, Jeremy brought up some really great points. And I think one of the most important things that students hear right off the bat is that this is their future. They have to take an active role in this. And the earlier they start, the more prepared they're going to be. So we're very fortunate here at our high school. We have a class that all freshmen have to take, freshman seminar. And we start going into those classes their freshman year and talking to them about their transcript and what colleges will be looking for on there and how important it is, their GPA and the rigor of their courses and the extracurriculars that they participate in. We talk to them about getting their letters of recommendation because there's so many different components. And if they wait until their junior year or even their senior year, there's so many different pieces that they do get overwhelmed. So we try to like educate them right from their freshman year of the process. I encourage my students, even from their freshman year, to come down when we have a college coming in, say we had Daemen College coming in, to come down and meet with the representative and to get information. There's so much information that they share that's general to all different admission processes that the kids benefit when they come down and they learn more. I think the more that they hear about it, the earlier they hear about it, the higher their comfort level is, and it's less scary and intimidating to them. The last year, things have been taken away from these kids. They haven't been able to go out and have the same experiences that they've been able to. So I'm really encouraging them now that they have the opportunity to take tours, to get out there and tour the schools, to make contact with the admissions officers, to be very proactive. And like Jeremy said, utilize your resources because there is so much help. And I think when kids leave my office, they feel 100 times more confident about it than when they first walked in. Just being reassured that they're doing the right things and having a list of things that they need to work on doing and knowing that there's somebody here to support them.
Yeah, I agree, Aaron. Kind of going off of that, Tiffany, in terms of like besides your major or academic programs that a student's interested in, you work with a ton of students. What other factors should students consider when they're looking at a college?
Absolutely. So this is going to sound cliche, right? But fit is really important. And there's many ways for students to investigate fit, like what is going to allow me to fit. And in the support roles that we all play, particularly those of us in support roles, encouraging students to apply to college and move through this process. There's a couple of things that I want students to kind of think about. And the first one is, what kind of experience do you want to have when you go to college? And it's the idea of placing yourself mentally, sometimes even physically, right, with those campus visits and things like that, in a space and say, what is it that I'm going to need to have the experience that I want? Do I need to be immersed in a living learning community, right? Am I going to be a resident? Am I going to live on a campus? What kind of space do I need to live in order to feel like I'm having the experience that I desire for myself? Or do I need to know if my institution or the college of my choice has a thriving commuter community, right? Those are really important questions that a student needs to ask. Is the campus that I'm investigating accessible to my needs? And that's whether it's a physical accessibility, right? Or are the resources available to me? Are they accessible for my needs and how I plan on being successful as a student? And can I navigate them successfully? That's really important. Another thing that students need to really think about and think very honestly about is what level of financial burden can I realistically take on? You know, we all have our college of choices and, you know, we have our top tiers and our second and third choices. But it's really important to have a realistic understanding of what a financial burden looks like, right? Who to talk to about understanding what that financial burden means presently and in the future. and seeking out assistance in helping you make a decision about what that was going to look like for you later on. So really understanding the financial burden in the present and in the future. And then it's really important, I think, for students to make sure that they understand what the value, the core of the college they're looking at is, right? And does that align with who you are? I have encouraged so many students who I am thinking of accepting into our program to read the mission and the vision statements of the college you're applying to, right? Are the things that the college saying that they value, that are important to them, what they are going to provide for each and every student, does that align with who you truly are intrinsically in yourself? Do you believe those things? And are those the things that you want for yourself, your future, your families, your communities? And if they do, that's wonderful. That's a college you should pursue. But sometimes those things don't align. And sometimes students don't find that out until they're already out of school, right? And they're registered and they paid. And then the things that they have already decided they want for themselves in terms of what success looks like academically and in the college experience, you get a little jaded, right? Maybe you might be angry and frustrated and feel like it's too late to make different decisions. It's important to make sure that those things are aligned in order for a student to feel like they belong there. And a sense of belonging is what's going to not only get a student to a college, but keep them. And we all know we got to keep the students, right? That's our job to the very, very end. So we have to help them on the front end of this, make sure that they're aligning themselves with colleges of choice that make sense for who they are as individuals, as human beings, what they want for themselves and their future, and guiding them along those lines. And making sure that the college that they choose represents who they are, and that there's not misalignment and incongruence at any point in time, because that adds to the difficulties of navigating the college experience. It's going to be there regardless of the college of choice, but why add on burdens such as misalignment in values and core thinking if we can avoid it and make better choices in the beginning?
I think you make a really good point, and I think like when I think about this question, I always think about in terms of my own philosophy when it comes to admissions, is kind of like I want a student to have an authentic experience before they make their decision. And by that I mean, like, can they self-identify with the college, with us at Daemen, and is it authentic? Like, did they have an interaction with a student and that they were able to self-identify with a student and be like, hey, this is my community, this is where I feel like I'll belong. Like, talking with a faculty member that's in their program, and then just being like, hey, this faculty member, like, we really connected. Like, I could see myself like really connecting with this faculty member or a staff member. I think when I see, I mean, I feel old saying how long I've been doing this now. I'm so used to being the young one in admissions, and now I'm getting old. But I feel like the more I move around and the more I talk to students, and the students that come to me and later on when they transfer out and they say to me, well, Austin, I was sold on the prestige of this. I was sold on the perception of this. And then the perception of this wasn't really what I found it to be. And I'm not saying that about Daemen. I'm saying that as a general kind of like talking with students I've mentored in the past. And the reality with it is just that a lot of them just had an idea of what the college was or had an idea of what the student body was, but really never took the time to really identify or see if they, if they were trying to actually belong at the college versus what it is. I worked for a college that was very prestigious, like, well, we're prestigious where it was. And when they got there, they found themselves, it was very, maybe like, that's maybe not what they wanted, maybe that they didn't think about the student body. So I really appreciate your answer there, Tiffany. So as we move to the next question, Jeff, I'm going to ask you this. Jeremy, feel free to chime in. I know we've talked about this, but Jeff, when it comes to paying for college, where should students and families start?
That is a great question. In terms of a starting point, I have a few recommendations. First of all, we want you to apply for financial aid. That's very, very important. What you need to do is complete it's called a FAFSA application. By definition, it stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's completed online at FAFSA.gov, and FAFSA becomes available every October 1st. In fact, the 2022-23 FAFSA will become available just in a few weeks. So if you're planning on attending fall 22, you're going to be able to complete your FAFSA application very soon. I also recommend that students try to attend high school college nights or college open houses. Many times there's financial aid presentations during those events. I know Daemen has an open house I think next week, Saturday on the 25th, I'm going to be conducting, 2 presentations at those events.
And I would just add a couple things to what Jeff said, all of which is super important. Students and families, number one, you will know what the FAFSA is, to Jeff's point, in about, what are we, 15, 16 days away from the end of the month, because you will be getting plastered with emails and postcards and letters. Understand that it is the number one way that the majority of students and families in this country help pay down the cost of college and make it more affordable. Understanding that affordability, right, looks different for every family. And Tiffany talked about fit earlier. I would tell you there are colleges out there that you're going to figure are a better fit. And you may look online and you may go to the website and you may see, oh my gosh, those numbers are huge. Like, there's probably no way I could afford a school like that. The best advice I can give anybody who feels that way, understand that very few, if any, students pay anything close to the numbers that you see on any college website in this country. And if colleges explain to you how that happens, trust me, it's a lot of math. It's not fun to listen to. But to Jeff's point, there are a number of ways, including the FAFSA, that help bring down the cost of college. No college in this country can tell you exactly what you're going to pay until you go through the application and financial aid process. They can give you ideas of what students are paying. You can fill out what's called a net price calculator, which every college has on their website. But ultimately, to Tiffany's point earlier, it's about finding the right fit and then figuring out, okay, would it be a stretch financially if I got admitted to a school like that? And if you're wondering what the average student pays to go to some of these colleges you're considering, I strongly encourage you to reach out to your counselor at those schools if you know who your counselor is, or go on the admissions website and fill out a request for information form and have that conversation, because that's something, again, where they can fill in a blank for you.
Great points. Aaron, as we kind of keep talking about fit, can you talk a little bit about how you on the high school side help students figure that out? What is a right fit for them? Because from the college side, we always tend to think like everyone's a great fit for us, right? But from the high school side, how do you help navigate students through the college search process and helping them find a school that's a right fit for them?
So we are a very small high school, and by the time the kids get to the process of applying, we know them pretty well. So having a one-on-one sit-down conversation with your counselor, if you're in high school, that is so important. And if you peek your head in your counselor's office and they're busy and you walk away, email them and say, I need to sit down with you and have a conversation, advocate for yourself, that you get some time with your counselor, sit down, have a good conversation to talk about yourself, um, who you are, what you're interested in, what you want. Because, of course, there's different things like the size of the school, the different programs, the location, of course, how much the prices, though we know, like you just said, that's not actually what you're going to pay. What type of merit scholarship money you'll be eligible for. Your counselor can take a look at your transcript and give you a really good idea how much merit scholarship money you can expect from these schools. But I tell the kids, by the time that they are in the beginning of their senior year, they should have a good handful of schools that they want to apply to, and that there's no commitment. It doesn't mean they're going to attend these schools, that's where they're applying. And then once they get their acceptances, the next step is you get your financial aid packages, and that kind of helps whittle your list down a little bit when you see how much money you're going to get from these schools. And then you tour them if you haven't already. Maybe spend a day shadowing there. And you're going to get a certain feel when you get on campus. And Tiffany said, like, a sense of belonging. You're going to say, yes, I can see myself there for the next 4 years. And you're going to feel really excited when you come back from that school, or you're going to come back and think that wasn't really the right fit. And 95% of the time, that's how the kids make their decision. It's you apply, you get your acceptances, you see how much money you're going to get, and then you spend time at that school on campus, and you really immerse yourself on the campus and see what type of feeling you get. and you have ongoing conversations with your counselors. And really, it's very important to involve the families as much as possible in this process and work together as a team.
I agree. I mean, especially when you talk about coming from the high school side and having someone to advocate for you and know you like as close as you have, Aaron. We in the admission side, what get to know a student at best from their junior year, maybe, but only have a few conversations, and you get to see them every day. So
Mhm.
the biggest thing I was going to ask, though, it goes to Tiffany, and I think Aaron kind of talks a little bit about it too. But Tiffany, I like this question because high school seniors, we always talk about like senioritis, right? And then it's always like, what I got through the stress of the college admissions process, and then they come to college, and then it's like, but when you're working with students in terms of like things they should keep going through their senior year, or traits they should have, or keep aware when they're going to college, what do you find are some of the traits or characteristics you find in students who have the most success in college that has nothing to do from grades or anything like that?
Absolutely. So you all know how fortunate I am to be able to work with a large population of our Daemen College students, and honestly, they're some of the best young people around. Um, but the most successful students, and like you said, it's not about their skill and it's not about their academic achievement. It's those students who realize that they're going to need help along the way, and it's really that simple, right? Um, we all know that it can be very difficult. It can be super challenging for someone to expose themselves, regardless, in terms of their shortcomings, limitations, or things that are challenging for them. It's hard to say I don't know. It's hard to say I should have, I could have. Um, but the students that can honestly, and honestly, all of us, let's be really honest here, for us to come to the realization that being uncomfortable or accepting this space of discomfort is what's going to take us to a place for an opportunity for us to learn and improve. And the opportunities are just so kind of endless in that space when you realize that nothing that we do in our lives is going to be accomplished on our own. It may feel that way, right? Self-made billionaires, we know that's not a real thing, right? But when you realize that you're not alone, and experiences that others might have had are going to help you accomplish and get to the goals that you have. So I think it's really important for us to look for students that are um, understanding of the fact that they're going to need help, and help to nurture their ability to reach out, right? Their ability to accept, because that's difficult as well. We can provide, but if students don't feel empowered enough to reach out and accept, we're not going to get them to the place where they can be as successful as we want them to be. So if we can get students to have the willingness to think and to behave differently, they can absolutely be successful with however prepared they're coming to college with us.
I think you made a great point. I also think it's like one of the things, and Aaron, you could probably chime in here too, because if students come back to visit you, but I feel like a lot of the students I meet at 17, 18 years old aren't the same student I met at 20, 21, in terms of like where they were and kind of even what they talked about they were going to do. I can think of a student off the top of my head who said they were going to be a doctor and were going to be, and that's what they wanted to do. And 21 years old, they're going to be going for their PhD at like for history. And I was just like, how did this end up happening? And then they were just like, look, I had this amazing professor. And then all of a sudden I started doing research with them. And then all of a sudden I started like, they invited me to a conference and I was just like, this is ridiculous. This is amazing. Like, so it's like, I guess the word I would use is almost growth, right? You say the word I feel like you almost have to be open to growth and to expanding. I feel like the worst thing I won't say the worst, but I say the one I always get hesitant when I talk to a student is always when it's very linear. Like I'm this to this to this, and it's just like because along the way in college you're going to hit obstacles. It's never clean point A to point B. There's usually going to be a roadblock in there. Um, and so like being able to overcome an obstacle, being able to understand that this is why you want to do something as opposed to this is what you're going to do, and understand that you have a strong passion for why you want to do something. Um, so yeah, I would say that's, I don't know. I like your answer a lot, Tiffany, and I thought it just reminded me of that, of just like how most of the people they just have such a passion and they have such a growth mindset to really like embrace college. And I don't know, Aaron, if you have anything for to add from the high school side.
Yeah, so a lot of kids, they get really hung up on trying to pick a specific major, and they're very focused in on that, and they go back and forth and they stress themselves out. And I tell them, like, you're 17 years old, so you're definitely not supposed to have your entire life mapped out. And when you do, you almost you you shortchange yourself because there's opportunities you miss because you have almost like these blinders on. So I'm telling them that their job is to immerse themselves in every opportunity they can, and to get into their school, find the right fit, get into the school, take all different kinds of classes, because they're going to go through like a period of transformation. And it's somewhere along the way, it clicks what they want to do. They take the right class, they meet the right people, they have the right opportunity, and then they know. And I just am always telling kids, like, you are in the middle of a beautiful transformation, and be open to everything, because they're 17 years old. They're still growing.
I'm sure if I ran a poll right now of how many people they thought they would work in admissions or in higher ed, or Jeremy is a consultant at 17 years old, how many of us would actually raise our hands? I don't think any of us would. Although, Jeff, if you wanted to be a financial aid counselor at 17, it wouldn't shock me. I'm not going to lie. Going to you, Jeff, for the next
All
question.
right.
Jeremy actually touched on
did.
this a bit. But I didn't know if you had anything to add. I know we talked a little bit about sticker price shock, which is looking at
Right.
what the tuition and tuition fees are for a college and being like, how am I going to pay for that? I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, or
Yeah, sure.
just in general, like when you talk to students who are interested at Daemen and see
Right.
our tuition and then what they end up paying.
So yeah, sticker price versus what we call net price, very different. Okay. Most students don't pay remotely close to what that sticker price is. We call that tuition discounting. And we do that two ways. We do that upfront when the student applies to the college through the admissions office. Students submit their high school grades and test scores, and hopefully that admissions office offers some sort of what we call an academic or merit-based scholarship. Okay, so that's the first way we bring that tuition cost down. The second way is after you complete your FAFSA, the financial aid office is going to determine your what we call need-based financial aid eligibility in the form of need-based grants and scholarships. New York State TAP, Pell Grants. Institutions have their own need-based grants. Private institutions that are more expensive typically award significantly more in both merit-based and need-based aid. So the point is, your cost is going to be significantly less than that sticker price. So what we want you to do is make sure you don't get turned off by the sticker price. Submit your FAFSA, apply to the college, get accepted, take advantage of that academic merit-based scholarship. Let the financial aid determine all of your need-based scholarships and grants, and then we'll be able to determine what your net price is, which is actually what you would be paying. And again, it's going to be significantly less. And I also want to add too, I know students, sometimes they're comparing private versus public schools. Obviously, private institutions cost more than public. But what we find, especially for financially needy students, is because the cost of attendance is much higher at the private schools, that means your financial need is much greater, okay? Which means you get significantly more financial aid. So in many cases, your cost to attend a private versus a public institution is very similar.
Jeremy, kind of going a little bit about a conversation you and I had, and I thought I don't know, it's stuck in my brain ever since you've been here, Jeremy. So I think it's worth kind of you talking to everyone about it. It was about the conversation families and parents should be having right now in terms of how, like, about financial aid or about paying for college, and about how the three ways everyone pays. I didn't know if you could share that with everyone.
Sure. No, absolutely. I just know as we continue to work with different colleges and universities, students tell us, families, parents tell us, I have neighbors around me, multiple students who have just gone off to college this year or last year as first-time freshmen. The hardest, most confusing part, as Jeff will tell you in this process, as will everybody else, is figuring out financial aid. And I think kind of the step that gets maybe skipped over a little bit, and Tiffany's talked about it a little bit, and Aaron's talked about it a little bit, right, is this notion of how are we going to pay for college? Whether it's Daemen, whether it's a school over here, a community college, whatever the right fit is for you, what is your family's plan, or what is your plan as a student to pay for college? And it gets talked about, but it really never gets talked about enough, in my opinion, not just from colleges and universities with prospective students, but also between families until they get those financial aid awards that Jeff talked about. And now it's almost like, oh my gosh, we really need to have this discussion now. And then to Aaron's point earlier, it feels like you're scrambling to try to, and it doesn't have to be that way. And so if anybody's listening to this and they've started looking at schools and maybe they've taken some visits and they've started to figure out, okay, I think I'm going to apply to some of these schools. The number one thing I encourage you to do, if you haven't done this as a family or students, if this is going to be you paying for college on your own, sit down and figure out, what is my plan going to be to pay for college wherever I end up going? And if one of the answers, Austin alluded to, everybody pays kind of in one of three ways. Those three ways are, right, parents pay everything, or somebody within the family pays everything. The student is on their own for everything, or there's some type of what I would call split and or other plan. You may have savings as a family, right? College 529 plans like my wife and I have for our daughter. Or, I grew up, my parents are divorced, remarried. Everybody got along when I was younger and that happened. My parents told me, Jeremy, we're going to pay a third. We're going to pay a third. You figure out where the other third comes from if you want to go to college. And that was kind of our plan. And I just remember that really resonating with me. I mean, it scared me a little bit, if I'm being honest, because it's like a third. Where am I going to get that from? And I worked all summer, every summer between college and before my freshman year. And, was very fortunate to use all of those savings to be able to help pay my third. It doesn't matter what plan you ultimately decide. I just encourage you to sit down and have a plan. And if you're listening to this and going, Jeremy, we don't even know where to start, I don't even have a plan, that's okay too, and much more common than. Please talk to people like Aaron. Please talk to people like Jeff, or please talk to admissions counselors like Austin at colleges you're considering, because they can give you all kinds of tips on where to start developing that plan.
It's funny, Jeremy had that conversation. I was like, oh, I gotta go talk to my wife, and I only have a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? But it was true. You find how many times I talked to a family who the first conversation they had about finances was after the financial aid package finally got to their door, and then they realized that, hey, I thought this was supposed to be all paid for. Where are we going to come up with money to pay for college? And it's, as Jeremy said, happens more often than I would like it to happen, because you always want to feel like, okay, how do I help you? But it's a conversation that's really important to have, especially if you're this early in the process, as you before you ever get a financial aid package. Kind of shifting gears, Aaron. This one question goes to Aaron. What are some of the biggest obstacles you see students struggle with when going through the college admissions process, from the high school side?
So, we just touched on it. Financial aid is huge. Most of the high schools do have like a financial information night. Daemen has been kind enough to partner with us for 3 years and do an overview for parents. But ultimately, you can reach out to the schools that you're applying to and ask for financial aid assistance too. Um, I was the first in my family to go to college, and I remember going into Daemen with my father and getting help actually completing the FAFSA. There's help, and it's confusing, and it's okay to be overwhelmed and confused by it, because we're all adults that work in this business, and we're all confused by it too. It's a lot to know and understand. But I do think one of the big points for my high school students that they have a hard time with their applications is writing the essay. So I have students that kind of get hung up on writing their essay, and it's 600 words, it's a page, it's personal, and they get really nervous about that. So I like to talk to the English classes, the English 11 classes, and kind of give them an overview from the admissions perspective, what the admissions counselors are looking for when they read your essays, and how to make your essays stand out, how to make that one page really meaningful, and to have your English teacher edit it for you too, so that there's no glaring mistakes. But I do think that just the process, the different pieces, having the time management and the organization to complete your applications in a timely manner and to stay on top of the process. They get really worried when they don't hear something right away, and checking in with their admissions counselors and being able to communicate back and forth if there's something else they need to submit with their applications.
So I'm gonna chime in for like 20 seconds here. I think not to dominate a conversation, but I feel like every conference, every fair, I've always been asked to talk about the college essay. So the biggest thing I would say to anyone listening about your essay is that it is self-reflective. That is the most important thing. There's a topic you can talk about that it's not just about the experience. It's not just about I always give the example, you hit the game-winning shot to win the basketball championship. It's about what that moment, why you need to tell me why that matters, why you're telling me that what that experience you're telling me matters, or what that topic matters to you, how it's impacted you, and what that means for you going forward. I think that's probably the thing that is missing most from college essays, is that a lot of the times it turns into an experience essay about this is what I did, this is what happened to me, this is what an event I was a part of, and it's less about this is how it impacted me, and this is how I plan to use this experience going forward and when I go to college. And you do that, you're going to have an amazing college essay. I will guarantee you that right now, because no matter if it's some of the best essays I read were riding the subway in New York City, a concert that they went to for the first time, that and made a big deal because their father saved up for 3 months to go to a concert. Like it makes a lot. They talk about the reasons why an 8-year-old who fell down a well. Like there is a million different topics that sound very generic, but then the essays themselves are so self-reflective and talk about themselves that they will resonate with whoever reads them. And that would be my only advice for that. I know I hijacked it. I'm sorry, y'all.
No
Um,
advice.
kind of the same question to you, Tiffany, but when you work with our higher education opportunity programs, or if excuse me, equal opportunity programs at if they go to a public school here, what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah. So I do want to say one thing about the college essay, and I understand how important it is. Um, but particularly for my program, right? And for those on the call right now who don't know what an HEOP is, it's a opportunity that given to students who want to go to college, right? And they want to go to a private college. That's what an HEOP is for. Um, but they're had some troubles in high school, right? Their academics don't necessarily align up to getting into college at that first shot, right? Or the college of their choice, or something like that. And we offer this financial and academic opportunity for students to go to college and be supported through the entire journey. So when I'm looking at college essays, I'm not looking for that super clean essay. I'm absolutely not. I don't need it to be gleaming and perfect and shiny. I'm looking for the student who wrote it knowing that it's going to be bad, right? But they wrote it anyway because they want to go to college, right? Because a lot of times students you'll stop doing something because you know it's hard, right? Or they're not going to like it. Why am I going to try anyway? No, 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 no. If you want to go to college, you write that essay. And I'm going to read it and I'm going to say, this kid wants to do this. They exposed themselves. They did something that was really hard to do. They let people know that they're bad at this, right? And they want help and they want to get better and they want to be different. They want to improve and they want a different life. So, I have a different take on what that college essay ought to look like in terms of getting into my program. Now, in terms of serving our students, right? What are some of the challenges I meet with students that apply to HEOP is that they don't know what they don't know, right? So we have to prepare ourselves for the unknown a lot. We have to really scaffold a lot of answers to questions we don't even know we're going to get, right? And the first thing that we deal with is making sure that students and families and counselors know what HEOP is. And you would be surprised that for a program that is over 50 years old, that there are high schools and counselors and support teams that don't really know what an HEOP does and how beneficial of an opportunity to the access for college education is for students that might qualify. And the process is a little extended outside of the common application and the process that goes to an admissions office. And that's really important for admissions or for counseling teams in high schools to know. So we battle with that a lot of making sure that we're educating those that are serving students on the high school end, so that they have even more understanding of the opportunities to attend college and pay for it, because HELP is a program that helps alleviate some of the financial burden that might be keeping a student from applying to a college to begin with. And then the next thing that we work on with our students, and we're faced with this quite often, is the why, right? Why do you want to go to college? And for a lot of students who come through an HELP, the why is because someone told me I needed to do it, right? And that's simple as that. Well, my counselor told me to apply. My counselor told me to go to Daemen. Daemen's a good school, told me to go to Daemen. That's wonderful. Thank you for coming to Daemen. We need you. We love to have you here. But why is so important, because that's what's going to help a student get past those obstacles and those barriers, right? Why creates that motivation. The why is what's going to help a student surpass and move on and push forward, right? So if the why is for someone else and not you, then we're going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about why. And it's challenging, and it's a conversation that's tough for students, because sometimes they just don't know, because they've been told that this is the way for the change that you're going to need for your life, and they're left out of that conversation often. But what I would suggest is that students go to their counselors and they ask about the other opportunities to pay for college, the other opportunities to get supported for college, and who can I talk to, where can I go, and bring us in, and let my team come in and tell you how successful the program is, and what our graduates do, and what they go on to do, and how they come back to the college and support us. And then that'll help you discover that why, and how we can help you rediscover the why over and over again to help you push forward and be as successful as you can here at Daemen College or at any school that you choose.
Thank you, Tiffany. So kind of like we got about 10 minutes left of this panel, and I think one of the things that is so unique about this panel is that we have 5 different perspectives of how we all view the college admissions, and we all have a very different but important role to play in the college admission cycle. So one of the things I was going to do, and Jeremy, I'll kind of start with you. What is some advice, like final advice, that you would give to high school seniors, high school students, or families as they kind of go navigate this process?
Sure. Obviously it depends on what grade you're in and what stage you're at in this process, right? As you're listening to this, I would say the number one thing you need to do is just understand it's not going to all happen tonight, tomorrow, or, in a week. It takes time. And that's why, a number of the people on the panel tonight have said, start this process early. It doesn't mean you have to have it figured out by the end of your freshman, sophomore, or even junior year. And quite honestly, even on September 15th, it's okay if you're a senior and you're sitting here going, I don't even know if I want to go to college, let alone what kind of college I want to go to. It's totally okay. You have time. And then here comes the but, right? But the longer you wait, the more it's going to, I promise, students say this every single time in surveys, it stresses you out the longer you wait, because then you don't get to enjoy what's supposed to be kind of a fun last senior year of high school, right? And so if you're a sophomore or even a freshman or a junior listening to this, and you think you want to go to college, just start to think about what kind of a school you want. And by what kind of a school, the panelists have hit on this, a couple of things tonight, I would reiterate. Think about the size of school you want, right? There's a big difference between Daemen, and a flagship state university that has 25 or 30,000 students. And there's pros in those, right? The story I tell real quick is my wife grew up in a small town in southern Indiana, went to school with the same kids from kindergarten through senior year, could have gotten into a small private college. You could never have convinced her, because she's like, I grew up around 100 people for like 13 years. I'm out. I want to go somewhere big, which is why she went to Indiana University. It was one of the biggest reasons. It doesn't matter if that's you or not you, but figure out what you're looking for. Figure out how important location is going to be. Not just if it's going to be close to home, that's part of it, right? But also, do you want it to be in a big city? Do you kind of want to be somewhere that's in the middle, or do you want to be kind of tucked away where there's really not a lot of traffic and not a lot of outside noise to deal with, just so you can be a college student? Once you start to figure out some of those things in your freshman, sophomore, and junior year, or even right now, seniors who are getting a later start, go tour some of these colleges. It's by far and away the number one thing you need to do if you feel comfortable doing it right now and you have the opportunity. because we can all talk and we can all share all these different things about any college we might work for, know, students who have lived that experience. You don't know what you don't know, as Tiffany said earlier, until you go and visit. But I promise you, within 5 minutes of being on any college campus, you're going to turn to your parents or your friends or whoever's with you and either go, yep, this is a place I want to apply to and I can see myself at, or this is not what I thought it was going to be. Like, let's just leave and go. We don't even need to be here any longer. And that's okay, because that's helpful for you. All right. So hopefully that helps. And if you're a senior right now and you've already put together your list and maybe you've done some of these visits and you're still trying to figure out, yeah, but where do I really want to apply? Again, just think about fit, like Tiffany said earlier. If you've had those visits, where did you feel most comfortable? Which schools do you feel like have really tried to reach out in a way that feels personal and tried to get to know you? Like, has a college admissions counselor ever asked you about fear? Because I promise you, I know most don't, right? I know Austin's will, because I've, hit home on it so much with him since I first talked to him. But where are you going to feel wanted, and where are you going to feel like you fit in and are going to be accepted and have the support that you want when you go to college? Those are places you should apply. And then to Jeff's point, you fill out the financial aid process and paperwork, and then you sit down as a family and you make a decision. So it's just figuring out one step at a time. What's your next step?
Thank you, Jeremy. Tiffany, you want to go next?
Yes. So let me just leave you all with this. This is a tough decision to make, okay? And it's okay that you're going to struggle through it, right? But don't keep people, don't let people in with you, right? Take people along this journey with you. It's going to be really important for you not to do it alone. And I really understand that not everyone has the luxury or privilege of having a tremendous village, right? So some students might have to take a lot of ownership of this process, but find someone who can walk with you through that journey. You don't want to do it alone. You want some support. And there you will be able to find someone, even if it's just that high school counselor that's plugging away at their desk late at night, trying to get you to Daemen College open house on next Saturday. Find that one person that is going to be part of that journey with you, because it's necessary that you have someone in your corner that's going to walk with you and talk with you and celebrate with you, because at the end of all of this, you're going to earn a college degree and you're going to have done something that's really tremendous, and you want to share that with someone. So whether you have a giant, family living in the house with you, or it's just you and your grandma, right? Celebrate, be in the moment in it, take people along on the journey with you. And when folks are reaching out, accept the help, because the help is what's going to get you through. And there's not going to be a time through this journey you won't need someone. We're here to help. Everyone's here to help because we care, and we know that the journey can be challenging, and we don't want you to quit. We want you to go through the whole thing so that towards the end that you can celebrate at the end with what your true goal is, reaching that and accomplishing that goal. So have fun, because it could be super fun too. You get a lot of swag. You get sweatshirts and t-shirts and cups and mugs and bags, and it's going to be great. And all of that will balance out when you hit those rough patches where you're a little frustrated and unsure. You'll have met folks along the way that can carry you to the end. So stick with it. Find the people that are going to help you, and enjoy it.
Oh, thanks, Tiffany. Aaron, you want to go?
Yeah, so Tiffany, that was really amazing, and I appreciate what you said. I love how you said that the students have to know what their why is. And that is so important, because you are going to go through difficult times, and you have to have a strong motivation. And if you have the motivation, you can do it. So I think that high schoolers really lack self-confidence, and everything seems really intimidating because of that. But you can do this, and it's worth it. So the stress of and the work of putting everything together and getting your applications in and going through this process, as stressful as it is so worth it. And I tell kids too, when you get your financial aid packages, I feel like, this is really Jeff's territory, but it's unrealistic to think that you're not going to have any student loan debt And how I look at it is I went to college, I did accrue some student loan debt, and it was the best investment I had ever made in my future because I get to wake up every single day and come to a job that I feel excited to come to. That it's an investment in your future, all of your hard work and the money that you invest in this process. Um, the only other thing that I really want to reiterate is ask for help. There is so much help out here, whether it's through your own high school or the admissions office for the schools that you're applying to. Ask for help, reach out. I know you guys are scared of my teenagers are so scared of making phone calls. But these admission counselors are texting now. They give cell phone numbers. You can text back and forth. You can write emails. Advocate for yourself, reach out, ask for help, because it is not as overwhelming as it seems, especially when somebody's there to help you.
Good advice, Aaron. Jeff, you're up.
I'm up, and I'll go very fast. A couple of quick recommendations on the financial aid side. First of all, don't give up before you start. FAFSA has been simplified over the years. Just plan on taking some time and getting it done. Secondly, complete FAFSA early, okay? October 1st, you can start completing FAFSA. The earlier you complete the application, the earlier the financial aid office is going to be able to determine your financial aid and send you that financial aid award letter. And then you're really going to be able to see and start to plan in terms of, what are my estimated costs and what are my options going to be. So that's real important. Thirdly, apply for outside scholarships in the private sector. There's a lot of different search engines out there. My only recommendation is if you get into a search engine that wants to charge you a fee for those services, I would get out. There's some real popular ones called fastweb.com, scholarships.com. There's a number of others. If you can keep your scholarship searches local or regional, your chances are improved. If a student is working, check with your employer. If your parent works, check with their employer to see if there's any other opportunities in terms of additional scholarship opportunities. We also developed an outside scholarship resource on our financial aid website. So please take a look at that. We've got hundreds of outside scholarship opportunities posted on that website. Thank you.
Guess it's my turn. So, kind of just for very quickly to Jeff's point, and kind of using Aaron, one of the best places I found when I was going to college was my local high school office, school counseling office. They had a bunch of outside scholarships that they were local, tied right to the high school I was going to, and they had very tied to the local community. So it's a great resource. Like if you go to Cleve Hill, go to see Aaron if you're looking for those. The only real piece of advice I would give to any of y'all that I haven't said, one was to have an authentic experience, come visit a campus, talk to students, have a real conversation with students when you're here on campus. If I invite you, if you apply to Daemen to join like ZME, or which is like a way to virtually meet people who are going to come to Daemen, or a group me, go and see what your classmates are actually going to be like. Go see what the admitted class at Daemen's class looks like and talk to them. See if they're people you identify with. The only other piece of advice is go outside your comfort zone and see if what is outside your comfort zone is something that you're interested in or something that you didn't think you could do. We often use the term reach schools in college admissions, but that might be applying to it. What that means is just applying to a school you maybe think you don't get into, as an example. Last thing I would say, I hate, or I shouldn't say hate again, I am so scared in terms of doing these videos. I could sit in front of 3,000 people and do this panel. You tell me that I'm going to be live streamed and I have no idea who's watching this. It scares the bejesus out of me. But I honestly, it's rewarding. It's nice. It's excellent to get outside my own comfort zone to be able to do things like this. And I encourage you all to do that as well in terms of when you go through this college search process. If you go see something you don't think you'd like and just see if it's outside, and maybe you'll surprise yourself. But other than that, y'all, if you have any questions for us at Daemen, feel free to reach out to us at the admissions office. Jeremy, Aaron, Jeff, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And all of you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Daemen College, we strive to help every student reach their educational and professional goals. With exceptional resources and one-of-a-kind learning experiences, our graduate and professional programs will put you on the right path to career success. Our graduate programs include applied behavior analysis, education, nursing, social work, and more. 7 of our 11 graduate programs are open to any undergraduate major.